What's
all right.
all this? Is this a mime? I feel like I'm talking about Marcel over there.
He's doing
Hello.
this.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm doing.
I want you to stop. Hello.
STFU.
Hello. I'm Tim Poole. I'm an independent journalist. Hello. Hello.
Come on, Keiser. I'm Stacey Herbert. I am Max Keiser's operating system.
I am Mr. Stacey Herbert. I am the star of the Stacey Herbert Show.
So we met up, and I asked them if they'd like to talk about Syria, because this is a big breaking story. So it's not important. Is that what you're?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm right here.
Can you first explain to the audience, because they're going to be already asking questions on YouTube, that like I've covered up the spy television because we want exclusive rights to this first. Like,
oh yeah,
they're gonna like
the CIA.
Yeah,
NSA hacking.
I know, it's a drag whenever we travel now. If we're gonna have sex or something, Stacey's covering all the TVs, all the lamps, all the fans, everything's got to be covered and taped. She's convinced everyone's spying on us. It takes like 30. Foreplay is like 2 hours. It's like crazy.
It's actually part of the foreplay to cover everything.
I guess so.
It's
That's
a fantasy
the
role
foreplay
play.
is all the spy games.
You just gave it away, so now when we check into a hotel, the CIA is gonna like put the bug somewhere else.
Yeah, well, they have those new electronic condoms, right? I mean, that are connected to the internet.
What does this have to do with Syria, though?
I'm glad my audience was able to learn about your sex lives and your fear of surveillance.
It's a late breaking. We made a sex tape a few years ago. We never released it though.
Oh,
we figured,
okay.
you know, Kardashians and Paris Hilton and stuff. We thought, you know, this would be great.
So there has to be a Max and Stacey, the Keiser report.
There. It's out there. It's hidden. It's an Easter egg.
He's just trying to preempt the CIA.
It's actually hidden in one of the links to our shows. You'll find the link to the sex tape in the latest Keiser report. So you just keep hitting bang, 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 and viewing it as often as you
got to watch it as much as possible, and then share it with all your friends. And
the subliminal link to a sex tape.
So Raytheon shares.
Raytheon made $500 million on this.
On the Syria tip.
Yeah.
Wait. So this is just overnight.
Yeah. Overnight.
Raytheon made $500 million.
Their stock price is up $500 million.
Because the Tomahawk missile is made by Raytheon, and it costs, well, between $800,000 and $1.4 million, depending on who you believe. I always believe the higher number, because that's what the Pentagon pays, is the higher number.
See, we're in a late stage post-capitalist era. The two easiest ways to make money are war and prisons. That's it. So war is easy, the easy way to make money. You just drop bombs and then your product has to be rebuilt, right? You don't need it's just, there's not very much to it. Prisons, of course, are a great business. It's better than the university business, like New York University, cramming in students at $5,000 a month.
And those are the two sure ways to power. The electorate will vote in the attorney general or the judges that promise to be the toughest on crime and lock up, you know, some 20-year-old kid with a joint for 50 years. Make sure you're hard. Same here. So look how popular Trump is now.
Look, here's the difference between... I'm sorry, Tim. Did you want to ask a question?
I did,
Not that I wanted to hijack your interview or anything like that.
Well, you just said Raytheon made $500 million. So I guess the assumption then is they're going to use more Tomahawk missiles?
No, because, so, you know, the video was released by the Department of Defense to MSNBC and CNN, and remember who was the guy who, Fariz Zakaria, whoever that guy is.
Fareed Zakaria.
Yeah, well, he was praising it, and Brian Williams said it was beautiful, a beautiful weapon. And, of course, that's a commercial, so
it's
you
a
use that for sell.
Yeah, it's a salesman technique, you know, just like any product with shock and awe. They sold a boatload of weapons after that. All the networks, you know, pumped up the shock and awe. It was beautiful. It was a big fireworks display. They sold a lot of weapons to the Saudis, of course. Then the Saudis hire more terrorists to do more terrorism. And then Americans blame it on, you know, some scapegoat like Russia. And then they sell more weapons. It's a beautiful system. The stock market keeps going higher and higher.
But why... What is driving Raytheon's price up? The assumption that they have to manufacture more missiles?
They blew 59 of them, right?
They got to build 59 more?
They need 59 more. They cost $1.4 million. They're going to sell
some
more.
You don't get that whole supply and demand thing? Were you absent that day in school?
No,
the supply gets blown up, but the demand is still there.
It's called
so you got to build some new ones, right? It's like you have a donut shop, okay? Let me put it in terms you millennials might understand. Let's say you got a donut shop, and you run out of donuts. You got to go make more donuts, right? So here's a company. They make Tomahawk frickin' missiles to blow people up. They blow it up, so they got to make more of them, you see? It's supply and demand, and they pay big bucks for this stuff.
I'm just trying to draw the line so that you can, like, we can...
Drawing the line, the red line?
The red line.
This is going to get violent, this is what he's saying.
You're over this red line. If you cross it, we're going to open more donut shops.
First, I need to correct something Max said, because you said, I have to put it into terms that millennials will understand. They don't eat donuts. That's so 70s. That's like Generation
X. Yeah, we're health
X.
conscious.
No, you have beef-filled donuts, right?
So beef-filled glazed artisanal donuts at $47 a pop.
Made with cat urine.
Made with authentic cat urine from Himalayan cats.
I'm wondering if the people who clicked the link saying, information on the Syrian conflict are now regretting their decision.
Yeah.
No, it's all part of it.
It's part of it. And Raytheon, of course, demonstrated not only a beautiful weapon, but there's built-in obsolescence, and that's what any sort of manufacturer wants, because I mean, we've just replaced the refrigerator. Okay, his mom had this refrigerator. She had it for 40 years. It was still working, but it was quite loud. We had the guy from Lowe's deliver it, and he said this will only last 10 years, not like the old ones.
Yeah, the spy's on us, because it's part of the Internet of Things. So no sex in the kitchen now.
So he's like Kellyanne Conway of
lose-lose.
The only thing the room that's available is the garage now.
Oh, the car might be spying on you too. They got the rear. They got the cameras.
No. We have an old car now too.
Okay. Old car.
We have pre-spying cars.
Yeah, those old cars are now valuable. Old phones, old computers, because there's pre-installation of all that spyware.
Well, so Trump, the U.S. government just fired all these missiles, right? What do you think is going to happen next?
His popularity will soar even higher than Raytheon, because the last we saw, remember only 2 or 3 days ago, the polls came out that he had the worst favorable ratings, the worst popularity ratings of any president since George W. Bush in his second term. And let's see because remember during, right after 9/11, and we invaded Afghanistan to liberate the women there, they haven't yet been liberated, but they will one day. Then we invaded Iraq, and remember, I don't know, you're probably not old enough to quite remember this, but George Bush's favorable popularity ratings went up to like 89-90%. So everybody was on board with all the wars, and everybody, look at MSNBC and CNN. They've done a 180. Everybody's talking about Trump's 180, but they've done a 180 as well, saying how much, he's become a president. He's become a man. He's our president. So it's worked.
But now they're reporting that the Pentagon is investigating whether or not Russia was involved. They're trying to cover up this gas attack.
Look,
is there going to be
the world is divided into Russia and America. Russia's paying down debt. They want to get rid of all their debt, and they are buying gold aggressively. They're in the one camp called real money, real life, real country. Then you have America that is continuing to add debt. 19 trillion, 20 trillion, it's all fiat based, very little gold based as a percentage of GDP. And that's where the conflict is. Ultimately, when the whole thing blows up, the countries with the actual gold are going to survive. That's why Russia's been buying gold, China's been buying gold, America's been increasing debt. So in the end, America's at a disadvantage. It doesn't really matter how many bombs they throw over there. It's going to matter, it's a function of gold.
I think that story anyway is just kind of a threat. They're just trying to say, if you want an investigation, usually if you retaliate, if you have Nuremberg-like trial, you usually have a trials. You have like investigation. Some scientists are sent to this location, and they see if this is sarin gas or whatever sort of gas or chemical weapon used. They determine from which direction it came, who dropped it. There were Syrian airplanes overhead. What was it dropped by them? Can that MiG that they use drop this particular weapon? So usually there's an investigation done. So I think it's just, there are many layers to this. Some say even that the U.S. Sending these Tomahawk, these beautiful weapons to Syria, that it was actually a warning to the Chinese premier who he was having dinner with. And some say this was a warning to control North Korea, because that's next. So geopolitics, there's always really an ulterior motive for each participant.
War is a Ponzi scheme that's based on human bodies. So the war Ponzi scheme to work, you need a lot of dead bodies. So the American Ponzi scheme, at the end of the day, the dollar is backed by the Pentagon, and the Pentagon is backed by dead bodies. So if the dollar remains high, the Pentagon's got to go kill a lot of people, including Americans. They don't care if they kill Americans, whomever. It makes no difference to the Pentagon.
Maybe Donald Trump has three sons. Three sons. Who's Baron?
Oh, Baron, yeah.
Yeah, he can marry them off to some of Putin's daughters, and this is how...
Oh, that's how old empires would...
Yeah, we're back to the 18th century, 17th century. Certainly, England wants to get back to the 19th and 18th century with Brexit. They yearn to go back to when they were the empire. They don't seem to enjoy the 21st century, so they're going to vote Brexit and say, "Oh, we rule the world again! Don't you get it?"
Do you think there's going to be an escalation in this? Do you think Russia's going to retaliate, or someone might retaliate, and then we could see a larger conflict or war start?
Well, I don't know. You know, if just from observation of the past the past decade or so, it seems Putin is more of a chess player. It's a stereotype, I guess, of Russians, but he doesn't seem rash. Certainly, Trump did a complete 180 within 48 hours, a dramatic one, and moved very hastily and emotionally. So who knows what we could do? Who's in charge? We don't even. Nobody even knows. Like who brought Trump to this decision? Usually, I mean. Also, I want to say it also puts into context how calm, cool, and collected Obama was. He was facing all this same pressure that Trump was until he capitulated. He was facing the Rachel Maddows wanting war. He was facing McCain, crazy McCain wanting war. Like he faced all that down, and despite all of it, he didn't bomb and he didn't invade. I mean, he did drone other nations, but he didn't go into Syria because of I guess the intersection of all of the proxy domes there, whether from Iran and Syria, Iran and Saudi Arabia, Russia, U.S. So I think he was a bit more level-headed, and we could end up wishing that there was a third term from Obama.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of questions. Is this the beginning of World War III? Is the one question. The other question is, how does this relate to global terrorism? So on the World War III question, I'm not going to comment on that because I don't want to be, I don't want to try to second guess something of this magnitude and take it in a flippant way because we are potentially facing an extraordinarily violent confrontation because you're talking about two well-armed entities here. So I'll put that on the table for a second. But on the subject of terrorism, this is where I think the American public gets completely lost because if the goal is to solve terrorism, there's only two countries in a position to meaningfully diminish the global terrorist threat working together, and that would be Russia and America. And after the events that transpired yesterday with the Tomahawk missiles landing in Syria, we've had the following day events in Stockholm. And so I was tweeting, that there is a connection here. If we want to stop terrorism, we have to recognize that there's two countries uniquely positioned who can work together to stop terrorism. If you don't want to recognize that and you want to play games to ameliorate your bruised Hillary lost egos and poke the bear because Hillary's upset, you're number one, you're taking an incredible risk, and number two, you're not doing anything to stop terrorism. Which I'm not convinced that anybody in America with any prestige and influence wants to stop terrorism because they love the drama, they love the excitement, they're armchair generals.
Yeah, ordinary people, the Beltway media certainly loves it, but in terms of Russia and the U.S., remember Russia lost their empire after they went into Afghanistan. Afghanistan is known as the killer of empires, the British Empire, the Russian Empire, and I think a lot of people, if you scroll back to 2001 online at the news items, a lot of people did say that at the time, like, uh-oh, the U.S. has gone into Afghanistan. I guess this is the end of the empire. And since 2001, it does look like all the classic symptoms of the end of empire, and a crazy man elected to the White House throwing off missiles in the middle of the night as part of a collapsing empire. So Russia has been there and has done this before, and maybe they can help them through this whole end of empire.
All right, last question. What should we buy?
What should we buy?
Yeah.
On the stock market?
Market, metals, whatever, right? You said Raytheon's up $500 million. I would have loved to have, I'm kidding.
2%.
I don't want to buy anything from Raytheon.
Yeah, but, Gold's a good way, as like collapsing empire sort of days, it's always a good.
Well, gold, silver, and Bitcoin are definitely the go-to safe harbor in a war situation. And you'll see a lot of safe harbor money gravitate into those three areas. Bitcoin is certainly held up throughout this turbulent period. It's continuing to attract money. Japan just, I think now, has kind of legalized Bitcoin for transactions. Hundreds of thousands of retail units will be accepting Bitcoin. I think one of the major G20 countries will add Bitcoin to their strategic reserve fund, along with other currencies, the dollar, the pound, the yen. And you could see Bitcoin do extremely well. Gold and silver always done well in times of stress. But as I said before, the global reserve currency right now is the US dollar. That's backed by the Pentagon. The Pentagon is backed by dead bodies. So as long as they can kill lots of people, that's the support of the dollar until they get interrupted in their death cult. That will be the reversal of the dollar. What's all this? Is this mime? I feel like I'm talking about Marcel over there.
He's doing
Hello.
Yeah, I'm doing.
I want you to stop. Hello. Hello. I'm Tim Poole. I'm an independent journalist. Hello.
Come on, Keiser.
Oh, we have to say goodbye. Goodbye now. This has been Timcast channel, the best frickin' channel on YouTube. Even though they try to demonetize, doesn't make any difference. You still watch it. Go to his other stuff. His other channel. Whatever. Do it. Yeah.
And subscribe to the channel. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Timcast. And do you guys have social media accounts? I'm sure.
Stacey Herbert.
I haven't seen mine in years. I don't know.
I
can't figure out Facebook.
You're too old.
I don't understand it.
You're on in years.
I've been locked out for 5 years.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to me.
Thanks.
And thanks for hanging out. Another video tomorrow. Stay tuned. Subscribe. Comment below. Let me know what you think. I'll see you all tomorrow.